Okay, guys, this is part two. There was no problem loading part one, which needed, unfortunately, to revisit that same news story in order to get to the more important discussion, a reintroduction of the reality map. It's been over a year since we've looked at this anyway, and I've been saying we're going to look at it in the last two videos, and I never got to it, so we need to do this anyway. Don't try to follow every little thing that's written on screen. I'll go over the whole reality map again with you. Don't try to read it or get ahead of me if you don't mind. There's a lot here, and again, I'll go over it with you. You don't even need to see anything in this presentation. I'm not going to show anything other than the reality map, I don't think. And I'll introduce the big topics that are associated with this video and what I'm trying to do with my writing on Saturday. Hopefully, if I think I'm 95% there in what I've written out for Saturday, hopefully your comments in terms of what I'm going to lay down here will take me from 95% maybe to 100%. But some of the things I'm going to throw out will seem insane even to many people here. You know, we're at different grades, different levels here. The old guard accepts some of my insane thoughts and theories because they don't come to channels like this for small thinking. They come for big thinking, and a lot of times, or many times, the big thinking is going to be wrong. But what happens if we actually hit on something where over the years we have hit on many things and we continue to build out our understanding of how this reality works? And this is, again, unnecessary because this is kind of the details of what the reality's out to do to us. We know, in a very general sense, the two sentences what it's out to do, but that doesn't lead to a good YouTube channel. The same damn two sentences every time. So this is more fun and exciting. All right, let's do a 5-minute overview or review of the reality map, introduced by me with some horseshit drawing probably about 2 years ago, I think. And actually, considering all the information we've collected and all that we've seen, maybe even was this even before See the V? I don't know, but it's at least 2 years old, maybe a little bit older. All the information we've seen has actually proven this out to be pretty true. And, you know, I'm not patting myself on the back, but there's a lot of smart people I'm in touch with, and not one of those people has come forth and said, Matt, this concentric rings reality you put forth is a bunch of horse shit, and don't ever talk about it again. Nobody's done that yet. So it's actually proving in a way to be accurate, at least as a very general representation of how not nilk or screen reality works. Let me do 5 minutes or less, then we'll go on to the real nutty concepts. Matt, this is nutty enough. Okay, but let's this is the sane part for anybody new here. Strap in. Okay, reality seems to work like a series of concentric rings. You don't have to read any of this. If you're trying to read it and listen, it's not going to work. It's better if you just turn the screen off, to be honest with you at this point. At the center, what is most real here is our immediate reality bubble. And if you're a real person and you're not on the wrong frequency and you're not all screwed up from this reality trying to get up in your business all the time, it's a heart-based reality, your personal reality bubble. I don't think it's very big. Whatever comes into it is very real. You know, I've said many times, your son or daughter comes in, your wife or spouse or a pet sits on your lap. This is never changing from our perspective. That is never subject to a Mandela effect or some weird reality breakdown we see on the news. The most real thing here is our heart-centered reality bubble. Okay, as you move outward towards the screen, things get more and more corrupted, more and more fake, less real, hijacked, Mandela effects, as you decide as a free-willed individual to move out from your reality bubble. Things get real fucked up real quick. Things start to break down. So there's a screen, which I call the outer layer of reality. The last ring I call the screen. It's all the things it wanted us to point at, or the police line up. Oh, no, this is the bad guy, Matt. No, that's the bad guy. That's all the bad guys are written around the outside. It's all meant to deceive. There is no one bad guy that can be pointed at. The dark part of reality, the asshole dark, the not milk, or the plumber's ass crack over the natural world, it's constantly reaching in towards your center, your heart-based reality bubble. That's what the hands reaching out and the hands reaching in. It's constantly asking you to engage with it. It gets to you There's only one door in through the ego mind, the frontal lobes, the part of us that thinks in English, the ego center through the brain, of course, through the mind. That's its doorway in to your heart-based reality bubble that's pushing out. So at the top it says, does your reality come from the screen inward? Most people are trained to base the reality based on what the screen is telling them, because the outer screen is a reflection of us in some way. It's a reflection of real spiritual generator beings that reflect outward, that are needed. Real people here are needed to manifest reality. Whatever asshole element lingers at the screen ring on the outside can't do it themselves. They use a trick, a deception. They get up in your business, and then they get real people here. Most people aren't like us. They're very fooled, even if we don't know who's a real person, who's not, who's an NPC. It doesn't matter. Let's just assume everybody's real. It doesn't matter, because the majority of real people, even if it's only a small percentage, are still fooled. They fall for the trick. They bow down to what the screen wants. They're not like you and me, and they reflect back what the screen wants. So it's a million sticky hands constantly reaching into you, or reaching towards a real person, asking you to engage with it. The society and culture is the interface between the outer screen and our heart-based reality bubble. We all have to interact with it. We all have to shake a hand of it every so often. You want to be able to drive, you got to get your driver's license renewal and all that. I mean, there's certain things, of course. We were born in the center of this Western, most of us here listening, anyway, Western society and culture. There's a sticky, grimy, gopher guts hand we have to shake every so often. But no matter where you specifically disagree with what I'm saying or not, we all agree here that it is best practices to shake as few hands as possible. But we all have to engage with it from time to time. Most people around us freely shake every single slimy appendage that it offers up. They base their life around what it wants, and their reality bubble reflects back exactly the reality that the screen wants or potentially needs to live on as sustenance, as loosh. So, again, the only thing you need to remember here is what's around you is the most real here in this reality. And as you agree, or as you are tricked, or as you, via consent or free will, agree to take your attention or your focus outward, as closer to the screen, then you are playing its game on its field. And the point of this particular presentation is things then become less real. Now, potentially none of it's real. We all have different takes on double slit experiment and collapse the waveform. And Matt, don't you know nothing is real until the observer, the consciousness? There's a degree of truth in all of that, of course. Whether you're triggered by the double slit, there's a certain group in the truth community that's triggered by the double slit experiment for some reason. I don't know why. Because even if whether this isn't very real, this whole experience, it doesn't really matter whether you believe every single line, presented by the double slit experiment or not. It's still basically correct that it's not very real, and consciousness comes first. Consciousness is needed. The Big Bang didn't come first. It's a joke. Consciousness comes first. If you don't believe that, what are you doing here? I mean, there's a Stephen Hawking YouTube channel somewhere probably, but if you believe that, then there's no reason to be triggered by the double slit experiment. It's basically saying the same thing. So anyway, that's my, I don't know where I came up with this. You should see my original horseshit drawing before someone was nice enough to put this into such a nice, fine format for us. So, but here's where it gets really strange, guys, and where I want to go, and maybe some of the things you can help me with for Saturday's big presentation. Okay, the main premise here is, and again, I don't know if the old guard's going to be like, yeah, that's no big deal, Matt, I can see that. I don't know, or they're going to be like, that's crazy horse shit. I don't know. I'm just have to say it, and then we'll try to work the details on the back end, or I'll try to justify my crazy belief set. That the screen reality, okay, we generally agree that as you move outward it gets less and less real and breaks down and corrupted, fake, hijacked, all that. We all generally, nobody's ever come to me and said, Matt, that's not correct. Matt, it's not correct that the realest part of whatever you call reality is your immediate reality bubble. Okay, we agree. But as you move out towards the screen, that reality seems to be actually not objective, meaning Tony's outer reality at the screen level is different than mine. Okay, that's kind of where I'm going here because I've been with the issue we just talked about, which I'm naming. I'm just going to call. Remember, I said that the name of the football team was in Buffalo, New York. So I'm calling, because I love Dances with Wolves, and Dances with Wolves is actually mentioned on this reality map. I'm calling it whatever happened, whatever this news story is that we're going to talk about in the future. I'm not going to say any names anymore. The Tatanka incident. The Tatanka. Not Tonka trucks. Sumani Tonka, whatever they called him. But that's Dances with Wolves. Yeah, that Tatanka's the damn buff. That's the Tatanka. Remember, he got down and he made the horns, and the other Indian thought, I can't say that. The other Native American thought he was insane. So going forward, via hobo code, the incident that was referenced earlier will forever be referenced in the future as the Tatanka incident. Okay, Tatanka. Okay, so the Tatanka incident, let's bring that in a little bit later. For now, my friend Tony, for example, who I was the best man in his wedding, not the other Tony. What are the chances they're both named Tony? I'm saying because we've seen such a gigantic sample size where this is kind of the only thing that kind of makes sense in understanding or studying reality, that his screen reality that people like Tony are fully engaged in, they think that the screen reality deserves a place in their heart center reality bubble, that his screen reality is different than mine. Okay, I don't know if that's people are calling for white coats or the old guard's going, yeah, Matt, I thought it was going to be out there. We know that. I don't know what these guys are going to say, or girls. Okay, so let's just go back to the very basics. I told you 2 months ago, we're in a bar and we're talking about old times and high school and everything's going great until he starts mentioning things that will trigger a person like me. And I should learn to shut my mouth, but he mentions the Apollo missions in the moon, and we get into Voyager. Oh, here we go. Here the fight starts. Matt, don't you know any better? I should. I really should. And maybe someday when someone else is screaming, throwing rubber duckies, saying, Matt, those people they're kind of like trained in a download kind of way to eventually hit you with a trigger element like that. Eventually they're going to say something about one of these incidences that we believe is cake in a lake, and it's going to trigger you to engage, and that's how they'll be able to eventually end the relationship. Or if he's getting to the point with me that he's argued with me so many times about what you could call conspiracy issues. I'm sure I know his script. I'm sure I guarantee this is exactly what's happening in his house. I know every bit of the script. His wife will say, well, you haven't called Matt for a while. I mean, this is exact of what's going on, he would say. I don't think I can anymore. We always get into a conspiracy debate. I mean, honey, he believes, like we talked about V'ger from Star Trek 1, which is Voyager 1. He believes that just because that toaster, he's not saying these sorts of things, I'm just extrapolating. Because that toaster is beyond the Oort cloud, that it would have no way of communicating back billions of miles. It makes perfect sense how a dish could aim itself correctly from billions of miles away. So, honey, I don't think I can. We always get into it, Matt and I don't think I can call him anymore. That's what's happening. And that's how relationships die. And we've known this, yet we still keep taking the bait. And we're equally to blame. Put it that way, or at least Matt is equally to blame. Because I can't shut up about it either. I get right into it with him like a dummy. All right, Matt, don't lose the main premise of where you're going here. That's right, Matt, talking to Matt. Get back to it. Main premise is, okay, to anybody normal on the street, it's all part of the same reality. They don't differentiate as we might between a a reality bubble, heart-based center, and stuff on the screen like Ryan Seacrest's red carpet presentation or what the news may be telling you tonight, all from the screen. And as you move out again towards the screen, it's pretty much a 100% lie, deception, distraction, etc. on the right of the reality map, other than the weather or what team won last night. I'm assuming our outer screen realities aren't different there. I mean, the reality, if it is different, the outer screen reality is different potentially between someone like Tony and someone like me. I think reality is going to have common elements, so we all believe it's the same. Like who won last year's Super Bowl? It's not like in my reality the Eagles won last year, and in Tony's reality, obviously that can't happen, or all of reality would break down. And because there's a lot of things at the screen level where we completely agree, like who was the first president of the United States? I'm not going to say blah blah blah. I mean, we're all going to agree at certain things at the screen level. I mean, I'm saying history as it's presented by authority or a textbook is screen level. You pretty quickly get to those outer bands of reality very quickly nowadays, and it has a million ways for you to exit your heart-based reality as quickly as you can. It's an expert at drawing you out. That's how it lives. That's how it survives. But I'm saying, like with the Voyager discussion, where I'm kind of remembering how I presented that to you, I was telling Tony, saying, how could you possibly believe that something traveling at thousands of miles per... Again, guys, I have to use... I'm aware of these things. I have to use what Tony would understand space to be, of course. Something moving away at thousands of miles an hour, billions of miles away, is pointing a dish correctly back at something else moving thousands of miles an hour, when the damn Rocco's down here that has the steaks and the chicken cheese steaks and the pizza and stuff. They used, I don't know if it's, I haven't been there for a while. I don't know if it still has it, but for years it had the damn Direct TV or Dish Network or whatever it is. And when the wind kicked up, you'd lose the picture. The damn Fox News that was blaring across the place would go out, and you knew it was from the wind because you could hear the wind whipping. So the damn chicken cheesesteak place is losing its reception. But this thing is millions and millions of times farther from what they say is happening with that. It's just completely normal to him. He's like, well, Matt, it's totally believable. I'm just saying, look, as I said, without going back into that whole video I presented about me and Tony in this conversation, what I was saying, like, wasn't penetrating his reality bubble, like it was lost in translation, or it wasn't coding across his reality bubble. And whatever he was saying was equally insane back to me. Now, I'm not dumb enough to believe that I'm right and just and he's not. In fact, he is suited to this reality, as we call in the middle of the ship of fools, whatever it is. He is on the frequency, on the download, on the radio station of this reality. What he's presenting is much more correct and legitimate in this reality than what I'm presenting. I'm not going to do this. We can't do this arrogant thing anymore. Like, these people are dumb, these sheeples and all this. No, it doesn't. Reality doesn't work like that. Okay, we have to be bigger thinkers. Maybe I'm wrong about the way I'm presenting this, but it's a lot better than saying, oh, these people are just stupid and they're sheeples. No, he's not stupid. It's almost like, again, like a lost in translation. Whatever, even though we were in close proximity, and I've talked about our reality bubbles would have been overlapping from a proximity or physicality, which I hate that word. Every college football analyst, the physicality of USC. It's like, where'd they come up with that dumbass word? It's all they say anymore. Anyway, sorry. The physical nature of reality bubbles might have been intertwined or impinging on each other, and it still was lost in translation. But I'm not arrogant enough to say that I'm right and just and these people are stupid. No. From the reality's perspective, which is the ship of fools, when we're not on it, we are, as you've heard me say, we are crazy. We are wrong from this reality's perspective and its metrics of what is real. So, but it was so, but it doesn't, I know it doesn't make sense because I'm using just common sense examples that he just still couldn't understand. I said to him and I'll get off this Voyager conversation in just a second. But I'm like, Tony, again, I'll say this one more. You've heard me talk about this before. See that bottle? There was a bottle, the top shelf liquor, and the bottom shelf is the wild turkey and that horse shit. If you had a BB gun, you could hit that bottle with a BB gun, right? It's just 8 feet away, or yeah. But what if I said, what if that BB gun was on the other side of Beijing, where Rodney Dangerfield bought the land on the good side? Could you see if you were just off by one micro, then your BB would fly like 100 yards off? I mean, do you see how his distance makes it harder to aim something? I mean, I'm trying to go back to first grade. I'm going, we eventually have to have a meeting of the minds here, right? No, of course not. It's not the way reality works. Well, it was like just lost in translation. He wasn't like under comprehending any of those basic examples. And then all I heard back was a bunch of weird ass horseshit like, Matt, I saw it on TV, or just weird stuff. But I'm not dumb enough to believe that, oh, he's just dumb and I'm right and I'm just and I'm righteous. No, I have to think big, like literally our reality bubbles are not translating. Literally. And I know that's impossible to comprehend if anybody's new, because we're sitting right next to each other. And we have common elements. We could say, well, wait a second, did you still go to Upper Merion High School? Well, yeah, we're always going to have those common elements. There's something to this. We have too many examples at this point, and there's too many things that just don't make sense. Like the Tatanka incident I talked about in part 1 today. So ultimately, okay, this is insane, it's insane, but this is kind of where I'm going. There's nothing more screen there's nothing more screen than the Tatanka incident. I mean, that is the definition of a screen exercise, something that would make the world news as well as Entertainment Tonight. I mean, it is pressed against the screen, right next to Ryan Seacrest. Now, the premise here again is his screen reality not objective and literally different than mine? For whatever reason, we'll ponder that some other time. We got to get through the basics first. Where, again, this seems to be the case. Where, for example, someone like Chuck, who he's the one that researched all the mall events, and he has a list of hundreds that couldn't possibly be real, or some would say bang. Some would say not just mall events, but school events, and I'm not expert on all these, but the main ones that I've researched over the years, I was like, Chuck's right about that one. That looks like BS. That one looks like BS. That one looks like BS. Ohio State looks like BS. Not the football team, but what we're talking about here. So someone like Chuck, of course, would look at and I said in the first video today, I said Sunday night after the Rose Bowl. It was Monday, January 2nd. Chuck would look at that Tatanka incident and be like, of course, it's completely contrived, horse shit. So what that means, though, again, and I'm not going to harp on this, but that means, again, another 1,000 people have to be in on it. So my premise at this point, guys, we've seen so many what you would call conspiracies. I'm not talking about like the Tatanka incident or these mall events. I'm talking across the board. There's a triple level conspiracy in the Titanic story. Triple level. There's why the 9 digits from the latitude or longitude of the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid matches up to the same 9 digits of the speed of light, not per the same decimal point, but the same 9 digits in unison, which is a 1 in a billion. And there was no speed of light measured as meters per second. There's thousands of these things at this point. There's like hundreds of pages in my book. If the world were real, this just couldn't happen. This just wouldn't exist. What are the chances of this? What are the chances of that? The prince to the queen. I mean, we're looking at thousands and thousands of these types of, for lack of a better word, general conspiracies. Most of them have multiple levels. Now, again, you've heard me say this, I'll be brief. There's no possible way people in dark societies are pulling this off. It is a symptom of reality itself. The best example, and it's giving itself away, the best example from the earlier video today, part one, was that little element that reminds us that reality itself is somehow seeing to this. And it's ridiculous at this point to think that they have pulled off 10,000 things. You know, there's the Cardiac Hill, the SB Nation coverage of Pitt Panthers football, Cardiac Hill. Stories written 3-4 years ago about the famous person who's the highlight of the Tatanka incident, his move from the Pitt Panthers to the NFL, or what round he'll be drafted, or coverage from Cardiac Hill. Right. So if that was the only thing, okay, Matt, they just worked that into the story. If that was the only thing, yeah. Now it's thousands and thousands of these types of strange things now. We have a sample size that is now proven that something else is going on. And it takes, maybe this will be wrong, but it takes huge, big, weird thinking to get close as to what's happening. If you believe that now we're up to 10,000 conspiracies and every one has been pulled off by people in rooms, this channel is not for you. It's just, I mean, I don't think there's too many of you here. Those people probably left me a long time ago. But our sample size is too big now. You have to get into the weird. Like when I say, well, Matt, what exactly do you mean if Tony's outer screen reality is different than yours? It's I'm literally going to go to a strange enough place like Schrodinger's cat. Why is Schrodinger, I don't care to pronounce it properly. Why is that cat thing so pushed like a stuffed Lenin? It's in our face artificially. We hear about it. We've heard about it too much over the years. And it's a stupid exercise anyway. My Bootsy or Puss or whatever, that's a real entity. It's not going to be waiting to be configured under a box alive, Schrodinger cat alive or dead based on the motherfucker that opens the box and sees what's inside. No, Bootsy and Puss are real entity. It's a bad example because that's a real entity that doesn't need some dumbass human consciousness to decide if it's live or dead. So Matt, don't get caught up on the cat thing, you dumb cat lover. Could be anything in the box. A Schrodinger example just chose the cat, of course. Okay. It could be either until it's observed. And, well, okay, what is that really telling us? We have to read between the lines on the Humpty Dumptys that this reality puts forth. It could be alive or dead, depending on the observer, the Schrodinger's cat. Could what happened in the Tatanka incident be basically determined by who's interpreting it? Chuck, for example, on one end of the conspiracy spectrum, where he would just point at it right away. Chuck, I'm sorry to put words in. I know the type of things you've researched and cataloged, and I'm sure that you are somebody, like a lot of our community, pointed at immediately, of course, the Tatanka incident. That's bullshit. And it does look like bull crap as you look back at it. It really does. But I'm saying in this weird example, the reality map, is it bull crap to us and real to Tony at the same time, potentially? At the same time, like Schrodinger's cat. I know that's the weirdest, dumbest thing. But maybe the old guard's like, I could see that, Matt. Stop apologizing. Guys, look, it takes this sort of thinking. We're going to be wrong a lot, okay? I'm not pushing all my chips up here that I know I have it all figured out. This is the basis of Saturday's presentation. But just what is your whether you don't like my example there or not, what's your inner knowing tell you? Talk to your inner knowing in Tuning Fork now and look at the reality map. As you move outwards, is the screen reality to everyone here completely the same and objective? I think many of you will say, your inner knowing saying, no, Matt, I don't know exactly what that means, but no, it's not. I mean, look at some of the stuff I wrote around the outer screen reality map. I wrote here fake as the arrow points out. Things get more fake. Things get more corrupted. I wrote at the bottom, hijacked, things as you move outward from heart center or climb up the ladders towards the outer rings through society and culture. There's the Mandela effect. It becomes less real. The lies, deception, distraction increase exponentially. exponentially as you move outward. Okay, the Mandela effects, some people have Mandela effects where I've had people come to me and they're like, I turned that corner and that restaurant was, Ted's Steakhouse, and it was now Rhonda's Fish House. And like, what the hell? So I went into, someone will tell me, so I went into Rhonda's Fish House, and someone was like, well, when does Ted's Steakhouse leave? How long? We've been here 40 years, you crazy son of a beach. They're like, what? You've been here 40 years. People tell me these stories, but these types of personal Mandela effects are somewhat rare. See, the reason I wrote Mandela effect out towards the screen level here is most of them are at the screen level. Let's leave Australia out of it for now. I don't, interview with the vampire and all that sort of thing, Dolly's braces. And I don't just mean movies when I mean screen. I mean, something's changed in society and culture. And it's usually what's changed, like even Sally Field or Fields or names even change. Right now, you really like me. Right now, where everybody remembers you like me. You really like me. There was no right now, and all whatever everybody has different Mandela effects that affect them. Well, some of you don't have any at all, but some are anchors to people, some are not. But the point here is most Mandela effects are at the outer edge, where things start to break down, where reality, I don't know if I wrote fluid here as you move out. I probably did. It gets fluid as you move outward, away from your reality bubble. So why is it so assured that all the elements at the screen level are the same between me and Tony? My inner knowing says they're not the same. And this is one of the main problems we have in communicating with people around us. It's smart enough, this is an evil genius in the extreme, where certain elements, maybe because there's so much consensus, like who won the last Super Bowl, where even though it's a screen element, there would never be a difference. I would never notice Tony saying the Browns, the Cleveland Browns, and I'm saying, was it the Rams, the same color as the Rams winning the Super Bowl, the same exact colors of the conflict in that part of Europe. I mean, even that, like there's a segment here that most people in this segment have left this channel a long time ago. Said even that's coordinated by the smoking rooms. Our sample size is just, Matt, don't say the same thing over again. We got you. It's so massive, the thousands and thousands of things, millions upon millions would need to be involved, never making a mistake. Somehow they knew the Rams was Matt, don't you know the NFL is rigged? Oh, I forgot. Yeah, they rigged the NFL to match the colors up to the conflict. Yeah, okay. If that was all they did, that would be difficult. If that was it, there's 10,000 other things knocking at the door. Okay, we got it, Matt. You have to look to. It's just the nature of reality itself. That's what's going on. This reality map is, I need to update it a bit, and potentially at the outer screen level say, no longer objective reality, person to person, no longer fluid, no longer the same person to person. And maybe there's so much conflict between what I see or what you see, and arguing with your family at the Thanksgiving table, and all the conflicts we have as people who, quote, we're special. We can see. We've dove off the back, or dived off the back of the ship of fools, saying, Isaac, hey, Isaac, fuck you. Fuck you and your margaritas. I'm diving off the back of this ship. Call Vicky. He's just somebody jumping off the back like Jack and Rose. Hey, Isaac, fuck you and your margarita mix. He's finally lost it. No, we've doved, and we're standing on the shore. And yeah, okay, Matt, don't belittle all that we've accomplished. I'm not, okay, I'm not. Fundamentally, we have and are separating from this insane asylum reality at a fundamental metaphysical level, okay? But in the same notion, we're not correct about everything. We're wrong about almost everything. What's the only standards here that apply? Our own standards, this tiny little group that have dived off the back of the ship of fools. Is that standard really what should be prominent here in this reality? No, now we're outliers in this reality. We're a tiny little group. The standards and metrics are the realities itself, and the multitudes that are on the ship of fools. From all their perspective, we're wrong. And if anybody's screaming, saying, well, it's good to be wrong, we don't, that T-shirt, jump for joy if you're not compatible with all that's bullshit and all that it's trying to present. I agree. We've tremendous strides separating from reality and from its frequency. But understand that if you separate from reality and its frequency, then we maybe vibrate in such a way that the elements of screen reality are no longer objective. It is different to us, just like what we believe. I mean, is this the reason for the Mandela effect? Because of the buttons and levers they're pulling to make, the reality at the screen level no longer objective and, not variable person to person, because most people on the ship of fools are like Tony, the type of person like him that's completely on the ship of fools, that sits down before CNN and believes everything. And all those types of people on that frequency are going to have, I think, a same or a consensus as to what the reality at the screen level is. But to someone like us that have moved so far up the dial, it may be completely different. And I think you have to bring Schrodinger's cat in almost like a stuffed Lenin or something artificially carried through time. And I'll just say it. I think we need to go here. I don't think it's as strange as it used to be. That the Tatanka incident with the person we talked about in part 1, I'm saying it could be cake in a lake to us, and it could be real, like a real person in a bed to Tony at the same time. I know that's incomprehensible to many people, and I don't know how the old guard would take that. And if I'm ready to be hauled off, then let me know in the comments. The main part of Saturday's presentation, though, as I'm writing it, is what's reality or the Not Nilks or the Asshole Darks' main objective. And it talks about the need to constantly create the camps. I know we've talked about this before, but I'm trying to take it to a new level. Create the camps. How does it create energy for itself? How does it create loosh? Takes two to tango. The rubbing together of sticks. The two different chemicals or a variety of chemicals in a car battery to make the electricity. Polarization. Dichotomy. Duality. It needs all of this, but it relates back to the Tatanka incident. And I was talking to Greg about this, and I thought we both kind of talked this out, and he thought it was worth. There's some merit here. Whether this came from Greg or me, I'm not sure, but there's merit here, and it relates to the title of the first video today, the reintroduction of conspiracy. Ultimately, what we're seeing is the purpose of conspiracy is to, again, its ultimate goal is to create energy or sustenance or food for itself. It needs two things rubbing. It needs camps. It needs people screaming at each other at different sides of the Thanksgiving table. What does Hannibal Lecter say? I mean, I'll butcher this, but it's like, Clarice, read Marcus Aurelius. What is the Marcus Aurelius of the thing? I still don't know what the hell that exactly means, but what is its nature? Okay, what is this thing you seek? What does it do? This thing we seek to understand that can't be pointed at on the other side of the screen. So Christians call it Satan. What does it do? What is its nature? Okay, it needs, first and foremost, it needs to live. It needs sustenance. It needs to perpetuate itself. It can't pull up at no McDonald's drive-in and order a damn double quarter pounder or whatever. Well, Matt, that's not good for you either. I know, okay. But it can't do that. It needs to create controversy and real people fighting with each other in camps. And today, it's almost like, per the playbooks that it studies, or its AI studies, like its simulacra and simulation and all the damn things it's now read, and the chat GPT has read everything 1,000 times over. It gets ideas. It gets ideas. Like, we can do a lot better than just the camp of pro-life and pro-choice and the camp of Republican and Democrat. Look at all this stuff we can do with the conspiracy sons of bitches. So it's almost like that again creates camps, and it feeds from it. This is why we should never ever spend a moment for the rest of our lives analyzing if something is real or something is cake in a lake. That analysis, I guess on its own, if you would stop, but the analysis then leads into a dug-in position. That analysis leads to a camp, which is exactly what it wants. So what is this thing here, and what is its nature? It needs this sort of sustenance. So does this relate to the reintroduction of conspiracy per part 1 of what I presented earlier today via the Tatanka incident? I don't know how to say it. It's almost like this. It's almost like too many people. Well, first of all, it's like they always design it, Goldilocks nature of everything, how it plays right down the middle to create camps, gives the reality away. If the people sitting around in the smoking rooms, were able to pull off the 10,000 things, then they wouldn't be so perfect to pull them off where it's always Goldilocks right down the middle. That is just, that's if the rickety bridge is ready to break and you're not sure if they could pull it off, that Goldilocks element, how everything is always right down the middle, is like on the rickety bridge that's ready to break. It's like a gigantic, the damn wrecking ball that for the Acme products bought by the Coyote to use against the damn Roadrunner falls through the bridge. It smashes the premise that anybody's holding on, that the people are pulling this off. It smashes the rickety bridge into a billion pieces. Because there's even if they could pull it off, which they can, they wouldn't be able to do it so perfectly, where there's always the camps, and no camp ever goes to the other side. It's always Goldilocks right down the middle. So with the Tatanka incident, talked about earlier today, it's like too many people. First, let me go back again. They set it up to create the camps, of course. It's set up to create the camps. And again, I'm not a lot of people in the community believe that the guy, the number 33, was told to stand up and walk around. I don't buy that anymore. It just happens somehow, okay? But maybe we'll talk about that some other time. Now, everybody isn't getting their little instructions. They told the number 33 to step in front of the camera every single time. Okay, Matt, don't get into that again. Somehow it just plays out. But it's whether it's all people taking orders or it's just reality itself, we still agree it's designed to create conspiracy. It's designed so people take two sides, so it can rub its balloons together and get energy. Okay, but it's like with the reintroduction of conspiracy, in what's talked about in part 1, it's like they didn't get it right. They didn't do it. Too many people believed in it, for example. So I don't think there is no Chernobyl control center. This is a metaphor or an analogy of how maybe the thought process works at the or the screen level. The control center, like, wait a second. We got if it's only one chemical in the car battery, then it doesn't create no electricity. We got to put these chemicals in and have them mix. See, too many people are believing, and we thought we'd have more of these sons of bitches on the conspiracy side of the Tatanka incident. So if you reintroduce a new factor, then you could get 500,000 more people to pile on and dig in on the conspiracy side. It's almost like the needle wasn't where it should be for maximum loosh or maximum energy production. So it reintroduced conspiracy when it didn't seem to need to, assuming they had already pulled that one off. They reintroduced conspiracy to move the needle. So then they have the correct mix of chemicals in the car battery, or the correct mix of people that take two sides on the incident, if you see what I mean. It's the same with, they did the same thing I noticed with, it's a parallel to the Hillary and Trump, quote, election. We'll talk about that some other time. Whatever happened there. They know, of course. In that case, Matt, you're not saying it's no. In that case, of course, I believe it is all laid out like a script. There's a lot here, of course, that is a script. I mean, I might be one of the first ones that ever came out in this community and said we live in a script. Okay, so I'm with you, but they know how everybody's leaning, and they already know who's going to be president, of course, ahead of time. So they have an exact mix of where they want the population to be. So as the Hillary needle was moving more favorable, say, towards Hillary, then what did they do? They introduced conspiracy. They introduced negative things. They introduced her coughing fits, her, whatever she upchucked in that green ball, not not milk, that Lochnar she upchucked into the green glass, and the coughing fits, all designed to bring the needle then back down to where it should be. And then maybe as Trump was getting too popular, then you have the whole though. Oh, that's not good because we need the needle to be. But the needle. It's for maximum conflict. In this case, I'm talking about it like so they can put forth a believable election. But ultimately, it's about maximum conflict. So as Trump got too popular, then the Billy Bush thing. Oh, he grabbed her, whatever. Then, okay, then the needle's going too much to the control center. Beep, beep, beep. What's the matter over there, control panel 5? Trump's getting too popular. Oh, the needle's, people, he's saying things people really like. Let's say this was a year before the, quote, election. Okay, now it's time to introduce the Billy Bush thing. The Billy Bush thing he grabbed. Really? I'm not mad. I thought you said it's real, but it's just different realities. It's both. Okay, I'm not, again, like I've said, I have to apologize every single video. Matt's saying everything's real and it's just a different reality at the outer layer of the reality bubble. No, I'm introducing that there's still things that are laid down. Because there's a series of creeps here know how reality works in this regard. They have the reality buttons and levers. They put things in motion where then maybe the reality sees to itself or real people generate it or manifest it. They put things in motion. So, okay, in this case, it is more contrived or cake in a lake. So Trump's getting too popular that to pull the needle back, but not so an election is believable to create maximum conflict and tension and fighting amongst families and at the Thanksgiving table, whatever. So it gets the energy and loose energy and the emotions like fear, anger, worry, stress, people hating one another, people fighting with one another, and somehow it feeds off this. I don't know where the original concept of loose came from, but as we've been doing this and looking at this stuff over the years, it seems to be extremely accurate. How it feeds from it, who knows? Who knows? But it seems that everything it does, it's trying to create maximum energy for itself. Back to the read Marcus Aurelius thing, that's its ultimate nature. So if you're getting in the weeds on is an event real or not, or how did they plan it out that this guy in the Tatanka incident, he played for Pitt, which just happened to be, the reporting on it through SB Nation just happens to be called Cardiac Hill. I mean, it gets ridiculous if you think it's all planned out to that little nuance or that little detail all the way back. I don't know how reality sees to this, but just saying smoking rooms, obviously it's not good enough anymore. So we've seen all these strange little details. They always come with these events, and it just gives reality away to a degree, and the nature of it away. So if we're in the weeds fighting about if something's real or cake in a lake, I'm convinced 100% that's what it wants us doing. It wants me fighting with others in my community here about, Matt, you said this was real, or you said, oh, you should see right through this, Matt, or you're trying to, that once that, we have to, whether you agree with even only just a small percentage of what I'm saying here, we have to stop that because I know and you know that's what it wants. It's ultimately about creating a situation so it gets the energy that it needs. And we've been primarily responsible for giving it a ton of energy over the last 10 to 15 years. We've been used, played, and manipulated to create its sweet energy, its sweet ambrosia, more than any other group. And I don't know exactly how to stop it, but I do know that fighting about if something at the mall is real or not, I am 100% sure, and you can feel it. That is exactly what it wants. So hopefully some people have some good comments regarding this, but what do you think about the notion that when there is a reintroduction of conspiracy, it's because the initial, where everybody fell on either side of its Goldilocks, people fell on this side, people fell on this side, it was too one-sided. It didn't create enough energy for the system. It didn't create enough tension or camps or infighting. So a reintroduction of conspiracy is meant to move the needle more towards its ideal Goldilocks level. So there is that balance where it can. Well, I don't know why I keep thinking of the scene in Matrix 4, or what Matrix 4 stressed, that what is that, Neil John Jacob Jingleheimer Patrick Harris or whatever his guy, bothers me. He says, well, it was dangerous when we brought you too close together, like too much energy, or was energy dangerous to us? But if we kept you in close proximity, he says something like that, like the ideal close proximity, then like some sort of energy was created that, I think I've talked about this recently, that they could use Trinity in close proximity with Neo. That ideal level where the needle is on an event that is Goldilocks right down the middle to create the most camps, the most hatred amongst those in opposing camps, so it can feed off the energy. And it seems to be learning, maybe not just through the reintroduction of conspiracy, through other means and methods on how to adjust its needle to get the maximum loosh. I'm saying that's what everything may be about. Everything may be about. And will they corrupt, how they corrupt real spiritual beings at the same time? It might not even be a separate goal. See, the corruption of real spiritual beings, the distraction, taking them off the path of what they're supposed to do in life, maybe that all comes along with putting that needle in the right place. Is that ultimately what they're out to do, or is that the tertiary effect or the side effect, the corruption or the distraction of real people? Like, assuming my friend Tony's as real as me, he's distracted in terms of what's important in this life, or believing what CNN says. And maybe they're just told as role players in this reality. It's like, you guys just worry about feeding. All we got to do is feed like sharks, like Jaws. You just worry about feeding and adjusting, pulling your reality buttons and levers so your needle is exactly where you need to be as a role player to get your loosh. That's, they didn't come in here and punch their clock like the cartoon Morning Sam, Morning Red. Is that the sheepdog versus is that the foghorn leghorn or what? I don't know, but they punch in, they beat each other up all day, and then good night Sam, good night, and then they punch out. They didn't come in, these creeps weren't chosen as role players. They're role players in this reality system. They need something. Well, wait a second. You want us to go in as lesser spiritual entities? You want to go into that? You want us to go into that Earth system, and we got to play this role of asshole? What do we get? Oh, look at this image of what you're doing on the back of the speedboat. Oh, sounds good. Like the sex packets, Ernie and Lefty video that was sent to me by Jonathan, I believe. Look up Digital Underground sex packets videos, or Ernie and Lefty. Oh my gosh, somebody did that. Somebody did that like in their bedroom. It's incredibly well done. Anyway, so he's like, that looks good. What else we get? You'll get this energy. You can manipulate the reality. So your job is to be the corrupter. But as you manipulate your energy and move your needle to where your energy is maximized for your creepy ways, then you will corrupt at the same time as a side effect. When we're sending real spirits in there, it's meant to be hard. And your job, don't interrupt. Your job, assholes, will be to be assholes, to be the corruptors. How do we corrupt real spiritual beings? Don't you worry. Shut up. Don't you worry about it back there. You just adjust your events and your reality presentations the best. Here's some reality buttons and levers. Here's a manual as to how the reality works, so you'll have advantages over the real mind-wiped spiritual beings that go in there. You just worry about feeding off your energy, and you'll corrupt as a side effect. Don't you worry about it. Don't get too complicated, and don't ask questions. Okay, now go to work. You George Bush creatures, go to work. Go ahead. Get. Who knows where they came up with the idea to readjust conspiracy or add new conspiratorial elements to move their needle down to the ideal level, where people will then fight with each other the most. That's what they're ultimately going for. Maybe it was, I mean, again, I don't know how creative they are. And, they get ideas from real people that write books. And maybe they put those people that make or write the books and can't come up with great ideas for not milk systems, like maybe it's all legitimate. Maybe Orwell, Huxley, C.S. Lewis. Don't you put my C.S. Lewis in with those other two, Matt. I'm sorry. We're still trying to figure him out. H.G. Wells, Beauregard, or whatever, Jean Beauregard, whatever that book was we talked about the other day, Simulation, Simulacra, and Simulate. Maybe then if it's going to use their shit, I don't think this is it. I'm just throwing this out. I think H.G. Wells is a puppet to put forth the technology that they already knew was coming. Okay, let's get that straight if anybody's new here. This is my first rodeo. But it's possible, like, oh, we're going to steal the ideas from this presentation, and then that dumb son of a bitch won't know what we're doing with it, or the corruption of real spiritual beings. We'll just push them up to the forefront of reality. We'll make them rich and famous, kind of like as a reward, because we're going to steal ideas from their presentations. Just like Spike Lee, if you put him on a lie detector test, he probably believes every bit of what he's doing is legitimate. He believes the stories are his own, and they probably are. He believes he's just a genius. He believes he's helping race relation, or helping oppression, or I don't know how to even talk about it, but he believes he's helping. Of course, he's not, but a part of the community here would think, no, he knows exactly what he's doing. He's in on it. I don't think reality works that way. He is used more than anybody else by the not milk systems to create the controversy and the tension that the not milk reality needs. And his reward is even some of his real stinkers probably, have a decent showing at the box office. He believes he's a genius across the board. He believes every bit of fame and fortune is because of his completely on his own doing, not because he served what not milk reality wants. He's not in on it. Okay, very few here are. I say that definitively. I don't know Spike Mookie. Okay, I don't know Mr. Mookie Spike. He played Mookie. I'm allowed to call him that. I don't know. Maybe there are a little bit more here that have their cue cards, but it's much, much smaller than we thought 5 or 10 years ago. Far, far less. And potentially almost nobody that could walk by you on the street is in on it. They're in on it in the way that they're on the frequency and the download, and they're doing what the not milk wants, and Spike's going to make a movie about exactly what the not milk wants, and Spike's going to believe it's his own idea or whatever. But that doesn't mean in on it the way I'm saying. So Spike he thinks he's just a shit, And Radio Raheem was a good idea. One of the three guys in the corner. Matt, now you're just getting stupid. Yeah, what is it? Almost an hour. We need to wrap this up. Oh my gosh, on Free Voice I'll say I can't say it here. What those three guys? One guy's named Sweet Dick Willie. They're on the corner just complaining about the Korean grocer. I can't say it. So they're either those damn blank motherfuckers are geniuses, or your black are just plain dumb. I'm not doing anything I shouldn't be doing here, bot. I'm praising one of my favorite movies. I'm not joking. I love scene by scene. There's 10 scenes in Do the Right Thing I absolutely love. I love the character bugging out. Jane, we're boycotting. Where you going, bugging out? Are you down, bugging? Yeah, are you down, Jane? We're going to boycott Sal's Famous. You're going to put some black people up on the wall. Sal, we're going to boycott you. You'll put some black people up on the wall. It's funny as shit. 1 minute away. I'm getting over an hour. I'll just tell a story that happened to my cousin and I in Ocean City, New Jersey, related to that scene in Do the Right Thing. The white guy comes by in the convertible. They got the hydrant open in that hot day in Harlem. He's got a convertible, and they're using, they put a tube over the hydrant to squirt the water wherever they want. And he's like, "Don't you do it, man. I'm going to..." And of course, as soon as he comes out in the intersection, they put the tube over, soak the whole inside of the convertible. Matt, that reminds you of something that happened to you, or you did? Yeah, we soaked somebody by mistake. It was I don't know, every so often you'd get these weird high tide situations in Ocean City, New Jersey. I was down there as a kid in high school with my cousin staying at my uncle's house. And the through the grates, the tide would rise up in certain intersections down by 4th or 5th Street or down by Ninth Street, or on the other side of Ninth Street, probably where we were. They would be underwater. The whole intersection would be underwater. And it was hot and sunny, 90 degrees hot. It's just because the tide was unusually high. So we're sitting at a light, and my cousin has this. He's got this old Bronco 2. He used to have a Bronco 2, and he used to, take it in the sand and stuff like that. It really wasn't that nice of a car. But there was a guy with a Porsche, one of these old, I think it was the old 911 Porsches, and they had at that era, I guess if he bought it in the 70s, you roll up the window by hand. Well, it's hot. He doesn't have the top down, but the windows are down. And Mike's like saying, "I'm going to hit this." In the intersection is 6, 7 inches of water, all underwater, the whole intersection because it dips down. He's like, "I'm going to hit this full force as soon as the light goes green." And I don't, okay, hey, cool. I don't know how old. I'm young. I'm like, hit it. So the light goes green. He punches it, and this wall of water starts flying on either side. Again, it's blue skies, 90 degrees. Well, the guy on the other side, in the Porsches, he's wading through. He sees my cousin. My cousin not trying to get this guy. He just doesn't noticing. This guy's trying to roll his window up by hand in the Porsche 911, and just when he gets it about halfway up, he's wading out slowly because he's got a sports car into this mini lake in the intersection. My cousin's wall of water from the Bronco 2 goes flooding into the damn window. I told my cousin what you just soaked that guy in his Porsche. He's well, anyway, down the alley, up the alley, left, right, this back on West Boulevard, up to Central, all this. I mean, we thought the guy was gonna come after us. He didn't. It was. I saw the whole thing. I saw the guy trying to roll his window up. I saw the wave of water go into the damn car. It was funny as shit. Guys, hopefully I'll look to your comments. Hopefully you can help me figure out some of this crazy horse shit a little bit better for Saturday. Then I'll have a big written presentation for Saturday. I will need to work on it all day tomorrow, Friday. Takes a long time to write this shit up. Thanks.